Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Erev Shabbos, Parshas Mikeitz, Erev Shabbos, Shabbos Chanukkah. I want to share some words about the Parsha and also about Chanukkah. Also would like to encourage everyone, we usually make commercials, but I would like to encourage everyone to look on the YouTube channel and to see the shir for Chanukkah. I think it's enjoyable. There's what to be gotten from it, and it should be up on the channel. There's an interesting din in the Chanukkah. There's a discussion about if a person really where we're supposed to light the lights is we're supposed to light the lights by the doorways that open up onto the public domain. The question is that if you have two doorways, one opening up onto one street and one opening up onto another street, so then do you have to light on both lights so that people shouldn't think that you haven't lit the lights of Chanukkah and you haven't participated in the persuminisa, the publication of the miracle, which is a little odd only because we don't have that by other mitzvahs, that we're worried that people might think that you're not performing a mitzvah, so we do it twice, so we do it in two different ways so that that everybody can see it. We don't say that about shuls. If there are two shuls in the neighborhood, that you have to go daven in both shuls to make sure that everybody knows that you're davening with a minyan. Right? We don't have dinim like that in other places. Why dafka by Chanukah? We also know that there's a concept of the birchas haraya, that a person who has no ability to light, they have nothing, no materials, no place, no house, and they see the lights on the light, the lights coming from somebody else's house, so they can make a bracha on the lights, which is certainly very odd. It opens up a lot of possibilities that, I can get you to do a mitzvah for me, and all I have to do is just see you doing it and make a bracha, and then I'm yotzei the mitzvah. Save me a lot of time, save me a lot of energy. Joking, of course, but that's not. It's again not something that we see by other by other mitzvahs. Whether we paskin like that or not is immaterial. But the fact is that there is such a concept of a birchas haraya. I think when you see the lights, you can make the brachas. We also know that when the Syrian Greeks tried to get into the Jewish people, so they made all kinds of decrees, and we know the famous ones of Rosh Chodesh Shabbos, of learning Torah. Right, bris milah, we know those. But there were many other decrees that they made. And one of the other decrees that they made was that they had to write Kisva Kani Shor on the horns of an ox, Ein lanu chelik be'elokei Yisrael, that we had no portion in the God of Israel. Now, just look at the wording. It really shouldn't be Ein lanu chelik. We don't have it. Should have been every individual person as like a bumper sticker putting on his ox, putting on his museum transportation. Ein li chelik be'elokei Yisrael. I have no portion in the God of Israel. But that's not what we wrote. We wrote Ein lanu chelik. Why dafka ein lanu chelik? So I think to answer this up, there's a very simple ha'ara that I've shared many, many times, but it's so moving to me. That if you look at last week's parsha, in last week's parsha, we started out with dreams, and it ended up in disaster. Yosef HaTzadik found himself in prison. This week's parsha begins with dreams, and it ends up in absolute glory of Yosef HaTzadik being second in command and paving the way for the rest of the brothers to be able to come down, and then the next step in Jewish history to take place. What was the difference between last week's parsha and this week's parsha? That in last week's parsha it began with dreams and it ended in disaster, and this week's parsha begins with dreams and it ends in glory. Because when you dream about yourself, and when you're focused on yourself, when you're the center, so then you end up lonely and empty-handed. But when you dream about others, and you try to actualize other people's dreams, you try to facilitate other people's dreams coming true, then you rise to great heights. And that was Yosef HaTzadik in last week's parsha, was focused on his own dreams. And when he realized that focusing on your own dreams gets you nowhere, now he knew that he had to focus on Paro's dreams. And he focused on Paro's dreams, focused on the implementation of those dreams, not merely just the dreams, but about what to do in order to be able to make them come to fruition. That stepping outside of himself opened up that world for him, and it brought him to great heights. That's what the Chashmonaim were about. The Chashmonaim were dreaming, not about themselves, and not about their own religiosity, and not about their own ability to be able to do mitzvahs, but they were dreaming about God, and God's name being made great and elevated in this world, about the Kiddush Hashem Shebedavar, about the sanctification of God's name. And they worried about the Jewish people. that the Jewish people shouldn't be lost, that the Jewish people should have a future, the Jewish people should be able to have a kiyum. Their dreams were not for themselves, their dreams were for others. And look at their success. The power that they had was all because they had an ability to step outside of themselves and to dream for other people and to facilitate other people's dreams and other people's aspirations and hopes. When they turned those dreams on themselves, look at the disaster that it caused. Look at the fact that there are no Chashmonaim left. And anybody who says it from the base Chashmonai, you know they're a liar, because the last Chashmonai stood up on a roof and she said, I'm the last one of this family. And she jumped off the roof and she died. They were completely obliterated. But the reason that they were obliterated was because their focus turned on themselves. And when the focus is on you, when the dream is about you, when the aspiration is about you, so then it ends in disaster. But when the dream and the aspiration is about others, then it ends in glory. By the lights of Chanukkah, we need to impress that message on our brains. We need to impress that message on our hearts, that it's not just about the miracles that God does. It's not just about, excuse me, it's not just about the awesome things that take place that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for us, but it's about the fact that we dreamed about that for other people, about the fact that we stepped outside of ourselves and created this kind of environment where it's not about me, it's about the bigger picture, it's about others, and it's about God himself. That's why the Yavanim were trying to destroy that sense of godliness that existed inside of us. What they told us to write, Al Karnei Shor, on the horns of an ox, not merely ein li chelek b'Elokei Yisrael, that I don't have a portion, but ein lanu chelek. They wanted me to commit not only to destroying it for myself, but to commit myself to destroying it for other people. They understood the connection that we had between others, but they wanted me to take that l'ra, and they wanted me to use it for negative things, and they wanted me not only to get rid of and to commit myself to getting rid of godliness in my own life, but to get rid of godliness for other people. And that's the reason why it's necessary, why we have a discussion about the possibility of having a candle or having lights on one doorway, and that you might need to do it on the other doorway also if it opens up to two different streets, because it's necessary to worry about other people. What are other people going to think? Are other people going to be inspired to be mefarsim the nes if they don't see me being mefarsim the nes? Chanukah is about not worrying about me. It's about worrying about the impression that I'm giving to others. And that's why there's a Birchas HaRoah. Because on Chanukkah, when I light the lights, I'm not just lighting it for me. I'm lighting these lights for all of Klal Yisrael, for every Jew that might be out there. And therefore, when a Jew sees those lights were lit for him. And since they were lit for him, he's allowed to make that bracha. That's the reason why Chanukkah, there is such a focus on being mefarsim the nes, publicizing the miracle, about stepping outside of ourselves. It's not just about me looking at me, but it's at other people looking and learning from me also. Other people being inspired. For me, when, as I mentioned in the shir, when I look outside, I'm living in a neighborhood now where it's all apartment buildings, and I'm lighting, and my apartment is fashioned in such a way that I'm looking into 60, 70, 100 different apartments. And I'm seeing, at the time I'm lighting, everybody's lighting, and I'm watching the lights ignite one by one by one by one by one. And it fills me with such an incredible sense of power, such a realization that, you know what, it's not just about me, but it's about my place in this big group. It's about my place in Klal Yisrael, and that my little light adds to his little light, adds to their little light, and that causes this conflagration, this causes this great, beautiful fire, this incredible illumination. Because when I dream not for me, but when I dream for us, when I dream for the klal, that's when it ends up in absolute glory. And that's one of the things that we have to remember when we look into the lights of Chanukkah. We're not merely looking into our own lights, but we're causing those lights to shine out in the world. And we're worried not only about the light, how it affects me, but I'm worried about how my light affects other people and affects our Jewish world and affects our God and God's place in this world. And when I'm worried about others, when I'm dreaming for others, when I'm hoping for a beautiful, more beautiful day for other people, when I'm looking for a brighter future for other people, that's when the future is going to be bright, not only for all of us, but for each and every individual, for Klal Yisrael, and for the entire world. We should be zoichet to see that day, that the lights are illuminated for every single person in the world, for every single Jew, for our God, and that this world is filled with so much or it's filled with so much light. And by that light, we can see into our souls, and we can see into the Ribbon Shalom, we can see into the Master of the universe, and feel and bask in his glory and in his light. Have a beautiful Shabbos, and have a lichtige Chanukkah.